What's up, everyone? It's Dr. Charlie here, physical therapist. Wanted to shoot a quick video to talk about water. So, water is super important when it comes to trying to heal your own body. It's something that's often overlooked. A lot of us are dehydrated. In this video, I specifically want to talk to you about how to know how much water you should be drinking, kind of the benefits of water, and some things that you might be sort of secretly or silently doing. Well, you know you're doing it, but it might be actually dehydrating you and pulling the water out of the system. So we're going to get to that here in a moment. I'm going to walk through with you step by step how to calculate all that stuff and the things that you specifically need to know to optimize your water intake for healing. Because the truth is that my specialty is helping people with back, butt, hip, leg pain, a lot of nervy problems, and nerves. They need water, they need oxygen. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And if you're not sure of how much water you're drinking, if you're not drinking enough and or you're doing these things, you could be limiting your potential to heal. Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk about water, H2O, agua, whatever you call it. It doesn't matter. It's super important. Just realize big picture that water makes up about 50 to 75% of the body. So we should probably know a little bit about it. And in this case, if you're watching a piriformis, sciatica, some sort of back problem, whatever, if we're trying to heal, we want to optimize that environment. And I'm going to talk about how water can do that, can either help or hinder that here real quick before we get into some calculations. Okay, so first things first, just get big picture here that this is what hydration kind of has an impact on. So we know that has an impact on pain, sensitivity. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that people who are more well hydrated, their alarm system, which by the way, think of pain as your alarm system, is less sensitive. So if you're more hydrated, you can generally, you have a higher pain threshold and therefore you feel a little bit less pain. Okay, so it can play, you can turn down the dial on your alarm system or your pain sensitivity. Also, proper hydration or just water in general has a role in double M. There is just the medical abbreviation for muscle performance and recovery. So if we're going to treat this problem using movement as medicine, we probably want to make sure that the muscular system and the tissues in the body are in an optimal state for working and then recovering, right? So it's another thing water plays a role in. The third thing here would be has some hormonal implications. So what I mean by that, cortisol specifically, which is a stress hormone. We found that athletes who are dehydrated, they have higher levels of cortisol or a stress hormone in the blood. So a lot of people say, hey, Dr. Charlie, I feel like my stress is really high. Could it be that, this is why my pain is worse, or when my stress is high, I have more pain? Well, yeah, absolutely. So what's one way other than meditation and, avoiding stressful situations and all the obvious answers to try to calm down or prevent some of that stress? Well, you could increase your water intake. You can make sure you're properly hydrated such that you can reduce the stress hormone in the blood. Another super important and kind of last point I'll make here about water is that it can impact your blood volume. So how much blood is in the pipes, how much blood is in the system, right? So blood flow, and then thickness. If you got an old car, the oil hasn't been changed, things are kind of gloppy, right? They're not moving all that well. Blood is super important because think of it like, you've got these pipes, these rivers or tributaries in the body, and blood flows through those. And within the blood, it's a medium through which healing nutrients, as well as something super important called oxygen, flows. And nerves love oxygen. We know that if you stretch an angry nerve just 8 to 15%, 8%, you start to reduce the blood supply or oxygen. So if this is 100% nerve stretch and you just do 8% nerve stretch, you already reduce the oxygen to that tissue and you start to get pain or problems. You do it 15% and you almost completely cut it off. Okay, so the tissue is already compromised. You want to maximize the blood supply to it and therefore maximize the oxygen, again, to give it the best possibility of healing. All right, so now I want to talk about things that actually dehydrate the system. So things that actually remove or suck water out of the system in some way, shape, or form. So if you have any of these things present, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you, keep watching for the calculation and you reach that goal of drinking as much water as possible. So here are the things that directly affect your level of hydration and that they dehydrate the system. So first things first, look, if you live in the middle of the desert, the Sahara Desert somewhere, or I don't know, Arizona, where it's just dry as all get out, right, and super, super hot, then you're probably going to sweat more. So, or if you're somewhere where there are seasons and it's the summer and it's 95 degrees out, then just realize that the environment or the outdoor temperature can affect how much water how much you're perspiring, how much water you're kind of letting off, and or how much water your body is holding in, right? So environment is one. The next thing is consider that maybe some of the medications that you're taking for common things like high blood pressure, diabetes, other kidney problems, consider that these things, so pills, could actually be dehydrating you. So point is that a lot of these medications, they play with like the fluid balance and things like that to help modulate or control or improve some of these conditions, but they also have secondary effects. It's that saying of like, hey, I have this pill for this, but then you have to take another pill for this to counter the side effects of that thing, right? So in this case, a lot of times people don't know, but if you have some type of, again, if you're taking some type of medication for heart problems, specifically high blood pressure, other heart condition, diabetes and or some other kidney condition, realize that a lot of the times these affect water balance and therefore they can actually aid or assist in dehydrating you, okay, which isn't what we want in the case of trying to optimize the healing environment. So next thing would be caffeine. I think, and I'm hoping, there's 2 F's in there, but maybe I screwed it up. Are there 2 F's in caffeine?
Yeah, but you need an E on the end.
I need an E on the end? Like that?
Let me Google it.
We're going to Google it.
Yeah, there's an E on the end. Caffeine. Yeah, that's right. Looks weird, doesn't it?
It does look weird. CAFFEINE.
Oh, because you had I.
Whew, that's a tough one. Okay, so if there's a caffeinated beverage that you're drinking, now look, you'd need to drink it in excess. So I'm not saying you have to get rid of the morning coffee, but that would be something. For example, if you drink caffeinated coffee, that would be something maybe to consider. A lot of other drinks have caffeine involved in it too, sodas, things like that. So just be aware that that is potentially a diuretic, which is something that basically sucks water out of the system, makes us urinate more. Okay, so another diuretic, natural, not really natural, but something that a lot of us may be doing is, especially if we're in pain, is drinking alcohol, right? So, the old story basically, or not even a story, but a lot of times I hear this is a story, is that you're in pain, right? You drink a lot of wine, like, oh, if I drink wine, it's kind of the old joke, like I feel so much better, or maybe it's Fireball or whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? The point is that alcohol is a diuretic, and therefore it's going to make you get rid of more water. It can help dehydrate. And then finally, obviously, your activity level. So if you just sit on a couch all day, right, you're not going to sweat as much, and therefore you're not going to lose as much water. If you're super, super active and always running outside, and you live in the desert, and you take pills, and you drank coffee this morning, and you expect to have or plan to have some wine tonight, well, then you better make sure you hang around for this calculation such that you can set the bar high as it relates to your water intake. So now we're going to actually walk through a calculation. I'll just use myself as an example of how much water we should be aiming for. What should be our water goal? All right. So here we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my body weight in pounds. I'm going to multiply it times 0.75. Why? Because the body is about 75% water. So put that into the decimal. It's 0.75. That'll give us the total ounces that we're looking to drink in a day. And then from there, we can break that down, divide it by 8 to determine how many cups we need, and then we can make that make sense with something like this. All right, so it actually becomes tangible for you to achieve. So I'm going to do a live example here, just my body weight. I'm 165 pounds, and I'm going to multiply that by 0.75, and I've already done that on my little calculator here, and if I round it up, it's 124 ounces. All right, so now what does that mean? So 124, I'm just going to divide that by 8 because there's 8 ounces in a cup. And it comes out to 15.5 or 15.5 cups per day. So you just want to ask yourself, how much am I drinking right now? And how does that compare? And if you don't know, just, go back in your brain or look at how much you drank yesterday or whatever, or just track it for a day on average. Don't try to change it and bias the experiment. Just go ahead and track sort of to find what your average is, and then compare that. Are you close or are you not close? And in a moment here, Mrs. Motion is going to share some tips to help you drink more water, because really that's your goal. So to be maximally hydrated, to optimize the system for healing, in this case, I would want to drink 15 and a half cups of water a day. Make that my goal. For you, right, it might be something different, but go ahead, take a moment and calculate that now.
Okay, so coming from someone who is a terrible water drinker, okay, notoriously, I am not a very good water drinker, never have been. So, but that can change. And so I'm just going to cover a couple of tips, strategies, things for you to do to help set you up for success for being able to increase the amount of water that you drink throughout the day. So, and by the way, I did not make any of these up. These are not like originally my own thoughts. They're just things that I've tried, learned from other people over time as I've been trying to do better on my own water intake. So one thing, okay, size of the water bottle. So if to keep you from having to refill a bajillion small cups of water throughout the day, because first of all, I would lose count, number one. Number two, it's just a barrier, a subconscious barrier. If I was keep refilling it, like that's going to fall off really quickly, right? So get yourself a larger bottle. So this is a 32 ounce. I know I need to drink 3 of these a day. And so, yeah, get something that's a larger size. I always find bottles that actually have this, like you can't, it may be hard to see right here. There you go. And right there, you can kind of see, okay, so there's like little markers. And so I always get one that I can actually see how much is in it. So yeah, size of the bottle, number one. Number two, keep it in sight. Like if it's out of sight, out of mind, it's really easy to kind of forget about it and your hydration to fall off. So like I always have this thing like sitting around, or I'm carrying it around. And now granted, there are times where I'll carry it around, and just because you're carrying it around doesn't mean you're actually consuming it. I could carry it around an entire park while my daughter's at the playground and realize that I carried it around the whole time and I never drank it. But it's like the concept, out of sight, out of mind. You don't want to do that, right? You want to have it like I have it sitting next to me all the time or in my sight, and it's bright green, right? It's a little bit more like bold and obvious. So yeah, keep it in sight so it's in the front of your mind. 3, have an easy way that you can use to track and count it. So there's fancy apps out there that you can log and track your water. You can use a piece of paper and write it down. You can, I have seen people actually use the front of their refrigerator and like write on the refrigerator, like tallies of how many glasses they've had that day. I mean, there's all sorts of ideas and things you can do. One really simple thing that I, have just heard someone else do, they actually put multiple rubber bands like around their water bottle. And so let's just say if I had to drink 3 of these, I would have 3 rubber bands around my water at the very top. Each time I refill my water bottle, because I drank it all, I could move 1 band to the bottom. It keeps me from having to not think about it in my brain. How many have I had? How many times did I refill it? But you could just move that rubber band to the bottom. And so this isn't a very good example because it's 1, but let's just say there were 3 here. After I refill it the first time, I would move it to the bottom, and there's still 2 up at the top. And I know I've got 2 more to go. So have some type of an easy way for you to be able to count and keep track of how much you're actually drinking. I think I'm on number 4. Number 4 is try and get your water, like start the trend of getting your water intake going early in the morning. Okay, I hate getting up to pee all night long. Hate it. So if I can get my water in starting earlier in the day, I'm way better off, because when it gets toward the later evening hours, it drives me nuts to try and chug water just to hit a goal, because then I'm going to be up peeing, and nobody likes to do that. So yeah, I mean, like I've heard a lot of people say like, hey, like I make sure I get X amount of water in like very first thing in the morning, right when I wake up, have it next to your bed, or, right away before you eat other things, drink other things, do other things in the morning, like get some X amount in right away in the morning. So yeah, start early. And so I think I'm on number 5 now. And that would be like, one thing I've tried is actually set like mini goals throughout the day. Sometimes I even set timers on my phone. So like an alarm will go off, and I literally set it as a recurring alarm, every day during 7 days a week or whatever, that at 10 a.m. So by 10 a.m. I should have my first 32 ounce in. you know, by 1 p.m., like after lunch, I should have my second. And by 5 or 6 p.m., I should have my third in. And that's kind of like those timers are just like, it's like that extrinsic, you know, reminder indicator that like, okay, you know, hey, have you done this yet? Hey, have you, you know, did you drink your water? Are you at your first 32? Have you refilled it yet? That type of thing. So, yeah, setting timers, that type of stuff to help keep you on track and make sure you break down what that total goal is. Like, you know, so if mine's 96 ounces, it's like, okay, well, don't look at it like that, right? Break it down. Okay, can I divide that by 8 so I can look at how many actual cups that is? And then how can I divide getting those X amount of cups in by each of those times throughout the day? And just take it in more bite-sized chunks so it's a little bit more feasible. So coming from someone who is not a very good water drinker, I've done a lot of work on trying to do better at that over like the last few months here in particular. And those are kind of some of the things that I've tried. You got to find what works for you though. Like some of that might work, some of it won't, and you'll kind of let some things go and maybe something else will stick with you that'll work really well for you. So just find something to help. Oh, I have another one. This is number 6. This is your bonus. And that is flavor. For me, like I get so bored with just plain water. So I love finding and trying out different like water enhancers. Like I have one sitting right here that like I just found it at Giant or whatever. And it's just like you can like squirt it in your water. There's like Crystal Light packets that you can do. There's, you know, like I try and find ones that are like low calorie. So I'm not adding, I like eating my calories, not drinking them. So I find stuff that's just like, you know, very like natural, basic. You could throw like an actual piece of, you know, lemon or lime or fruit. I've done that in the past. But yeah, enhancers or like, I love sparkling water. So like I'm on a big LaCroix kick lately. So yeah, even just mixing some of those in with my plain water, like at lunchtime, like I like to have like my can of LaCroix, like whatever flavor it is. And so that's another kind of way to get that in there that, yeah, mixes it up, makes it taste and better and is a little more fun. So hope that helps.
Okay, so there you have it. So the importance of water. Why does hydration matter? We talked about you know, things that dehydrate you or potential variables or things that you're doing or things in the environment, whatever that you're taking, popping, drinking that might be sucking water out of you and you might want to be aware of. And then finally, we talked about a calculation, not finally, we talked about a calculation to determine how much water you should be setting as your goal. Water is about 75% of your body. So that at the top end, we take our body weight and multiply it by that. And then finally, we ended with Mrs. Motion talking about some strategies that she's used on her water intake journey, if you want to call it that, to best help you meet that goal. So hopefully that's helpful. If you guys need help and or want to chat with me personally about how to optimize the healing environment, remember, I'm big about shifting pain triggers first. We've got to set up the environment for healing, and then I teach people how to use movement as medicine. And just you can go ahead, look in the description, visit www.calldrc.com to set up a time to chat with me. Also, if you want more content like this, if you found it valuable, just hit like and or subscribe, comment below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much, everyone. Chat soon.